It's a startling reality that filmmaker Ed Wood passed away with empty pockets in a borrowed home. Jazz icon Billie Holiday had a mere 70 cents to her name when she died, while Judy Garland departed this world owing an astounding $4 million. These aren't isolated cases. Numerous Golden Age entertainers found themselves drowning in debt or completely destitute when their final curtain fell. 1. Judy Garland. The beloved Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz, Judy Garland became a treasured performer on both stage and screen. Throughout her illustrious career, she accumulated earnings near $40 million. Yet when she died in 1969, at merely 47 years old, she was buried under $4 million in debt. This financial catastrophe resulted from multiple sources: incompetent money handling by her representatives and former spouses who squandered her income, combined with her generous nature that led her to freely distribute funds to friends and strangers alike. Though Garland enjoyed several triumphant comeback performances, including a celebrated engagement at New York's Palace Theater, the IRS confiscated most of her revenue for unpaid taxes. Her final days found her performing in small nightclubs, battling overwhelming debt and exhaustion. Following her death, Frank Sinatra graciously paid for her funeral while her daughter Liza Minnelli labored to settle outstanding obligations. Judy Garland's story serves as a powerful warning. Extraordinary talent and fame can evaporate when confronted with financial chaos, poor management, and an overly charitable heart. 2. Sammy Davis Jr. This American entertainer, singer, actor, comedian, and dancer captured audiences' hearts as a childhood vaudeville performer. Throughout his career, he mesmerized millions with his distinctive voice, elegant dance style, and captivating stage charisma. Despite accumulating substantial wealth, financial disaster eventually eclipsed his achievements. Davis maintained an extravagant existence filled with multiple properties, luxury automobiles, and expensive jewelry. Catastrophic financial choices sealed his fate. Attempting to dodge hefty taxes, he poured enormous sums into dubious tax shelters. When these ventures collapsed, the IRS reevaluated his obligations and hit him with a devastating $15 million tax debt by 1990. In desperation, he joined a tour with Frank Sinatra and Liza Minnelli while fighting throat cancer. When Davis died in 1990, at age 64, his estate, valued around $4 million, couldn't touch the massive debt. The IRS compelled his widow, Altavice Davis, to liquidate much of his property and belongings. Tragically, the entertainer known as Mr. Show Business departed essentially penniless, destroyed by excessive expenditure and catastrophic financial decisions. 3. Fatty Arbuckle, born Roscoe. Conkling Arbuckle, this early Hollywood comedy giant's financial empire, crumbled under astronomical legal expenses that haunted him despite his eventual exoneration. Once commanding a $1 million annual contract with Paramount in 1920, his prosperity evaporated in 1921 when scandal erupted surrounding actress Virginia Rapp's death. Though ultimately acquitted of manslaughter charges, Arbuckle endured 3 sensational criminal trials that accumulated $700,000 in legal costs, equivalent to approximately $13 million today. Desperately, he sold his mansion and expensive vehicles just to survive. Studios and theaters withdrew his films from distribution following the negative publicity. Despite vindication, Arbuckle's reputation never fully healed, leaving him essentially blacklisted. His friend Buster Keaton intervened, offering him profit percentages from Keaton's productions to alleviate financial pressure. Arbuckle's comeback efforts crawled painfully slowly, forcing him to work anonymously. While he achieved modest redemption directing short films, the former silent cinema titan died in 1933, leaving a legacy corrupted by scandal and drained by overwhelming debts. 4. George Raft. Despite once ranking among Hollywood's most famous gangster film actors, George Raft's life took a dismal financial trajectory. Celebrated for performances in Scarface and Some Like It Hot, he radiated cool sophistication on screen. Behind the scenes, however, he was a compulsive gambler. Devastating losses at racetracks, poker games, and casinos devoured his substantial earnings, which reportedly peaked at $18,000 weekly. In a series of unfortunate decisions, Raft rejected lead roles that subsequently propelled Humphrey Bogart to stardom in films like Casablanca and The Maltese Falcon. This combination of terrible choices and continuous financial recklessness gradually destroyed his career prospects. By the mid-1960s, overwhelming debt consumed Raft. He officially filed bankruptcy in 1966, admitting complete inability to meet obligations. Revival attempts failed. Public appearances and minor film roles never recaptured his earlier glory. He spent his remaining years doing promotional work in Europe and occasional cameos to survive. When he died in 1980, the once celebrated actor left only a $10,000 insurance policy and some furniture. His story demonstrates how even a stylish leading man, once swimming in wealth, can lose everything through misguided decisions and relentless gambling debts. 5. Dorothy Dandridge. Dorothy Dandridge was suffocating in financial troubles when the world should have celebrated her achievements as the first African-American woman nominated for a leading role Oscar. During her prime, powerful performances in Carmen Jones and prestigious nightclub appearances brought steady fame and respectable income. However, between dishonest financial advisors and persistent racial discrimination, her earnings vanished. When Dandridge discovered that her managers had embezzled $150,000, she simultaneously learned she owed the IRS $139,000 in back taxes. Desperately, she sold her Hollywood residence and placed her daughter in state hospital care. With diminishing career opportunities, Dandridge resorted to performing in small venues to survive, a stark contrast to the sold-out shows she once commanded. Bankruptcy filing offered minimal relief. Lawsuits and persistent debts continued mounting. By 1965, she hoped to revive her film career in Mexico, but tragedy struck when she was found dead in her modest West Hollywood apartment at just 42. A heartbreaking $24 in her bank account served as a devastating reminder that this groundbreaking star never escaped the financial hardships plaguing her final days. 6. Ed Wood. Ed Wood's financial circumstances spiraled into catastrophe long before his final breath, overshadowing a career that, despite its campy reputation, once held genuine potential. Famous for low-budget cult films like Plan 9 from Outer Space and Glen or Glenda, Wood generated income in the 1950s and 1960s by producing pulp novels and quick screenplays. Unfortunately, his earnings, typically $700 to $1,000 per novel, disappeared as quickly as they arrived, mostly consumed by mounting bar expenses. Struggling with rent, Ed and his wife inhabited a succession of deteriorating apartments where eviction constantly threatened. His Hollywood connections evaporated after numerous box office disasters, forcing him toward even cheaper productions. Friends recalled Wood lamenting he should be a millionaire for all his work. Yet he was drowning in debts with no recovery hope. In 1978, he and his wife were evicted from their squalid, crime-ridden apartment by the sheriff for unpaid rent. Desperate phone calls to former colleagues for loans yielded nothing. Days later, in a borrowed apartment, Ed Wood died from a heart attack. A penniless visionary to some and a cinematic laughingstock to others, his final chapter was pure tragedy and poverty. Continuing with remaining entries in similar rewritten format.